Greetings everyone to the Bucket List Reviews. My name is Gibran and this is the review of Trainspotting 2, a sequel to the 1995 Danny Boyle drug-induced classic Trainspotting. Okay, I'm not going to be doing my terrible Scottish accent throughout the review. Shite! Grand Skipperville! So it's been around 20 years since the last film. Mark, played by Ian McGregor, returns back to Edinburgh in order to bring some serenity to his past actions. But nothing much has changed though. The gang, Spud, Sick Boy and Bigby are still dwelling in their personal demons. But are they ready to forgive Mark for his betrayal and form the drug-induced gang of misfits once again? Originally, Danny Boyle wanted to make a sequel way back in 2009, an adaptation of Irvin Welsh's sequel to the Trainspotting book, Porno. But soon, he realized that the book wasn't on par with the original masterpiece, so he waited another 8 years and made almost a completely different story with the screenwriter John Hodge. Okay, before we begin, one thing needs to be made clear here. You have to watch the first part in order to understand the motivations behind the characters for this film. It's not the fact that you'll be lost, since Trainspotting 2 does a very subtle recap and fills in on people why the rest of the gang hates Mark so much. But the characters are much more empathetic and understandable if you do watch the first one beforehand. Phew! Okay, with that out of the way, Trainspotting 2 is actually a very enjoyable film. Danny Boyle has yet again made a very compelling film about 4 junkie misfits of society who, even when they achieve the so-called dream life, are bound to mess it up in some fashion or the other. So the first part was a character study of young Edinburgh adults who are absolutely misguided in life and are utterly unapologetic for their actions. They drink and fight excessively and find refuge in drugs and utter destruction of their personal lives. And the visuals reflected that quite immensely with each scene. Of course, the dead baby crawling on the ceiling scene. That scene still haunts me to this day. But in a very clever way, Danny Boyle does not just retread the story from the first film. The sequel is focused more on the gang who are extremely nostalgic of their carefree youth, but at the same time, trying to handle responsibilities of their lives. The visuals are spectacular in this film. There are a lot of flashback scenes from the first film, and the way they're displayed is just really creative filmmaking. For example, in one of the later scenes, Bigby is reading a letter which describes an incident from his past, and the empty wall in front of him is actually projecting the story with visuals. That's just awesome filmmaking in my opinion. There's also some very clever emotions displayed without mediocre exposition. When Mark visits his father and they're sitting in the kitchen, the third chair is empty, but a shadow is cast of a woman on the wall, hinting the fact that both men haven't coped up with the tragedy of the mother. These are really powerful images. What I really love about Trainspotting is that it can change your emotion with a split of a second. On one scene, you're laughing out loud like crazy, and on the other scene, you're actually emotionally concerned about the main characters. Yeah, but enough with the artsy stuff. Is the film any fun? Short answer, yes. I mean, the jokes aren't at breakneck speed level, but when a comedic set piece occurs, they're really hilarious. Hands down, the funniest scene has to be the bathroom stall moment, where the character Mark and Bigby are sitting next to one another and have no clue who they're talking to until the thought dawns on them. Hilarious. As far as the performances go, there's not really much to complain here. Every one of the actors reprised their roles so seamlessly, it's as if they just shot the first one a few years ago. I mean, McGregor could have been a bit more enigmatic in his performance, but somehow, I actually kind of understand it's not really the same character that we've introduced before. He's arguably the only one in the group who has somewhat matured from the rest. Robert Carell was once again brilliant in playing the short-tempered, maniacal lowlife and pretty much stole every scene he was in. The only major complaint I can think of was Ian Bremner's performance, which was too, rubbery face. He made a lot of silly faces which didn't convey much and got some cheap laugh from the audience. I don't know. Maybe I just found the people laughing at his face every time just annoying. I love cinema, but I hate the audience. Such a paradox, right? Now you might be wondering why I didn't mention Kelly MacDonald up till now. Well, that's because she was hardly in the movie. What the hell, Boyle? She was such an interesting character in the first one. Why did you limit her into just a cameo appearance in this film? I guess it kind of makes sense since she wasn't really in the gang and wasn't a drug addict, but still, it would have been nice to see her more. There's just one new character they introduced in the film. Veronica, played by Aniela Nedyalkova. She's nice. really beautiful, and I think her character was very well utilized for the film. It's one of the screenwriting techniques. In order to introduce the audience to a certain environment, introduce a completely fresh character as playing a composite for the audience, so they can be filled into the past events without seeming forced exposition. The first X-Men used this technique quite effectively with the character of Wolverine. Veronica is a quite interesting character on her own. But all in all, is this film an interesting film on its own? Yes, Definitely, but let's be clear here. Trainspotting 2 is not trying to be the shocking, disgusting, hilarious film as the first one was. We remember the first one quite well because it was all new to us. The sequel is more focused on pushing the envelope of the characters, coming to terms with their age and what went wrong with their lives, but at the same time reminiscing the past with rose-colored glasses. I'm pretty sure there will be people out there who will definitely get turned off by this because it's not in your face with the subject matter. But with that said, it's still a fun film and kind of shows that the sequel wasn't just made because nostalgia demanded it. Boyle had a certain story in mind for his characters and it's on display here. Is it as funny or shocking as the first one? No. Is this breaking any new grounds? Not a chance. But it's a very competent film made by a filmmaker who understands how a sequel to a 20-year-old film should be made. And it was definitely a fun experience to be reunited with the gang once again. For me, Trainspotting 2 gets a 4 stars out of 5. So, that was the review. What I really want to do in my next few videos is to focus a bit more on analyzing different perspectives of cinema and go less on reviews. But hey, what do you guys think? Leave a comment and let me know. And as always, like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see each other next time. So, ciao!